So, is Shami Chakrabarti the perfect example of how the liberal elite has lost the plot? This week she described struck-off solicitor Phil Shiner, that monster who tried to destroy the lives and the reputations of brave British soldiers, as a man who'd done good work, but had lost his way. Seriously? She recently said hardened criminals should be thrown back onto the streets because prisons are too full. She then said Corbyn must continue even if Labour loses next week's by-elections because he has an enormous mandate. Do these liberals ever set foot in the real world? Have they ever met that rare creature, to them at least, an ordinary person, those sad, misguided fools who didn't go to posh universities yet dare to have views contradictory to theirs? Those Brexiteers they've smeared as racist idiots, too stupid to understand the arguments, and those people they've dismissed as populist, a term of abuse to them, to describe those whose lives they've never bothered to try and understand. When will they wake up and say that ordinary people have had enough and that the days of being ruled over and patronised by a bunch of smug, out-of-touch liberals are over?
Yeah, I love the way that someone who's made their living writing a column for the Daily Mirror for years and probably not met any ordinary people in that time actually accuses other people of doing the same.
Of course, there are lots of ordinary people brought up with ordinary people.
Yes, so they write for it. They don't actually know them.
But I do, Greg. Trust me, I do.
I know Shami reasonably well. When I was chairman of the British Film Institute, she was on my board. I thought she was remarkable, actually. I thought, the years she ran Liberty, I thought she was incredibly effective.
Me too. I thought when she ran Liberty, she was pretty
And if you actually read what she said about Shana, it's not as damning as you said. It says, "It is not for me to speculate on what happened to an individual, but sometimes people lose their way. What I think is important, though, is misconduct by an individual should not be used to destroy everybody's human rights." In other words, that people still have some human rights in these circumstances.
Okay, well, let's not talk about human rights on the battlefield, because, one, Ms Chakrabarti
Well, then let me just take her second bit about prisons, because I agree with her entirely on prisons. In my adult lifetime, I've seen a doubling of the prison population, and I think this was caused by an authoritarian arms race in British politics between the two parties. We are not in the arms race. I don't believe the sum of human wickedness has doubled in my adult lifetime. I made a programme about prisons 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, when there were everybody said if it ever gets to 40,000 we'll be in terrible trouble. It's now reached 80,000. Yeah. And the truth is we are in terrible trouble on prisons. And there are an awful lot of people in prison who actually shouldn't be there.
I wonder...
And no one is trying... Of course, then we get back to the old idea, look at Huntley. You're going to let Huntley out. No one's going to let people like that out. But there are a lot of people in prison who should not be there.
If Miss Chakrabarti understands how people in this country feels when she tells us that Phil Shiner, her friend, and she's referred to him as her friend, has been struck off, and this is a sad thing that he's been struck off because he made money on the backs of brave British soldiers, because him and his firm and another firm hounded those people, wrecked their lives, wrecked the lives of their family. How do you think ordinary people feel when they hear that Ms Chakrabarti says...
Well, I love that you are the font of all wisdom about ordinary people.
I don't think ordinary people think about it the way that you are,
but I think ordinary people are, and I think especially the military, and I think especially soldiers and their families, are horrified when they hear that. Absolutely horrified. How dare she say this guy was a good guy when he's clearly not a good guy?
Just take a moment just to be clear about what we mean by liberal elites, because I'm very conscious that there's an ordinary, then there's a liberal elites, and what do we mean by ordinary people versus liberal elite? What is a liberal elite?
I think it's a set of people who go to a particular kind of school, a particular kind of university, who believe their views are superior to everyone else's, that they've chosen that their views are virtuous over everyone else's, which are racist. You know, apply all this to Brexit, apply this to Trump, if you like. I think those people have a set of values that they learned in these schools and universities, and unlike what I call ordinary people whose values are brought about by their own life experiences, by what they know. I think the values of the liberal elite are what they've been taught, what they've been indoctrinated with, if you like.
No, but
And the worst thing...
Did you go to a university?
No.
No. Well, it's quite clear you didn't, because you've obviously got no idea what happens there. I mean, the idea that there is...
the liberal elite that I'm talking about.
It's the condescension
because you're saying, because I didn't go to university, there was something wrong with me.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if you have gone to a university, you'd have actually discovered the idea that there is a prevailing philosophy that turns everybody into sort of liberal elite.
Come on,
you all...
In university, it's that glorious time where you talk about principles and morals and equality.
I think people talk more about sex and drugs and rock and roll than they ever do.
And habit. And exactly. Well, Carole, you're talking about the ordinary people, having their lives lorded over by the liberal elite. We've had far more Conservative governments in this country than we've ever had Labour governments.
And not true. Blair three times in a row.
No, but if you look at the total, there have been more Tory governments than Labour. So my point is, I'm not sure... I agree with you in the sense that there is a sort of faction of the Labour Party, which is what we were just talking about, which is Corbyn and his cronies, who I would say are part of the liberal elite, who are out of touch, no question. It's like the Islington elite, who really don't connect with your sort of traditional Labour voter. And chances are we're going to see that if there is a general election. But what you're talking about here, to me, seems like an attack, a personal attack on Shami Chakrabarti.
No, it's not. I said at the start, this is not just about her.
I think
this is about
separate,
people like her.
You can talk about the broader issue, which is there is a problem, there is a disconnect with the liberal elite. But I think to single out her is unfair.
Well, she was just 3 examples in 1 week. That's why I singled her.
Do you know what I think's happened? I was really concerned when you chose this topic. One, it's a woman. One, it's a woman of colour.
Of colour.
No, I'm sorry.
That's exactly what the liberal elite do. We dare not say anything about
And also, I feel
finish.
that people like you, who didn't go to university and are of a certain age, I'm also ancient, see the Brexit vote and the collapse of the Labour Party and the winning of the Brexiters as open season on anybody who doesn't think like you, and I think it's...
I think the opposite. I think the fact that all
agree with you, Rachel.
And you condescend the people who voted.
If it goes wrong,
you think we're all racist.
No, that's not true.
You don't understand the arguments.
But if it goes wrong, you're not going to say, "Oh, my bad. It didn't. Oh, we were actually wrong. Oh, we got our country back, but the economy's destroyed."
Yeah.
You're not going to take any responsibility for the things that Greg has begun to talk about.
What responsibility can I take for the fact that 52% of the country voted to leave?
No. What I'm saying is...
But you can take responsibility for whipping it up.
You will get your country back, but my daughter... I don't know if you've got children, but I've got children who are trying to get into the workforce, some of them are still at university. Yeah. Luckily, two of them have actually got jobs anyway. It sounds like I've got 10 children, I haven't. But my children, you may have your country back, you've got your sovereignty back, I don't know what that means, but the day we leave, they see their future shrink, Carole. And I'm going to blame you, and I'm not going to blame the liberal elite for that.
Tell me why you, and you're saying that they do, tell me why you are wedded to this idea of a European Union that is crumbling before our very eyes.
Okay.
But no, listen, let me finish. You just said what you said. All of the countries in it have problems. We know that France is going to the far right. Greece is on its knees. It's skint. Oh, please, Greece is skint. Italy is on the verge of a banking crisis. Every country in the EU has problems.
Okay.
Why do you want to be wedded to a failing...
Carole, tell me one thing that will be better.
We're going off topic, and if we start going on about should we be in the EU or not, before you know it, you'll have launched a new party and we'll be here all day.
This is what the Liberal Elite is about. They're the Remainers.
Let Michelle
let me tell you what I think, because I'm a Brexiteer as well. And I was a very considered Brexiteer. I didn't know what to do for ages, and I took a lot of time to research before making my decision. But how I would describe the Liberal elites is I would describe them as a collection of people that can afford their principles. So they can come out and they can say the right thing. They can say all refugees should be welcome, because they are very safe in the knowledge that those refugees will not... Hold on, let me finish. Will not move into their neighbourhood, will not be affecting their lifestyles in any way, shape or form, so they can have principles and they can stay true to them. But I do think, to your point, I do think that there is, and it's both ways, and it scares me how much animosity is coming between the Brexiteers and the non, because ultimately everybody voted for the way that they wanted the country to go based on their perspectives, their lifestyles and their priorities. Both sides of the arguments did that.
But you've got to understand, they think we're wrong because we're stupid and because we didn't understand the argument. But it's true. How many times?
But if you look at the numbers, you'll see the people who voted out were overwhelmingly old,
uneducated,
and poorly educated.
Yes.
Yeah. They were.
So you guys,
that was the fact. I don't say it's anything to do with them. They got 52%. If her brother hadn't gone the way he'd gone, it might have been 52-48.
So someone who went to university and has a degree in literature and went to Oxford, they know better how to make decisions for this country than an electrician in Leeds or a plumber in Newcastle. But that's what it looks like.
The Brexit debate has gone on for many months, and no doubt will go on for another 2 years.